Zebras are one of Africa's most iconic animals. They belong to the genus Equus, a genus they share with modern-day horses and asses. It seems the Equus genus originated in North America, became extinct millions of years later there, and then returned to the continent, along with migrating humans. It is a genus that came full circle. Whilst there are both domestic and wild horses in the US, there are not any zebras. Firstly, let's look at the evolutionary history of the zebra to determine whether it could survive in North America. The very first equid known to scientists was the Eohippus, or the dawn horse. From examining its fossils, we can tell that it was very different from today's horses and zebras. In fact, they shared very few similarities. It stood at just 45 centimeters, or 18 inches tall, and its feet were padded and multi-hooved. From examining its teeth, we know that they were used more for browsing than grazing, unlike modern zebras. But paleontologists discovered that this diminutive creature walking the earth 50 million years ago gave rise to our horses, and the largest wild equid of them all, the zebra. Fast forward to the Middle Pliocene, around 3.7 million years ago, and a definite horse-like animal was a common sight across North America and Mexico. Its name was the Hagerman horse, or scientifically, Equus simplicidans. This primitive horse species thrived in the Americas, spreading southwards into South America. The Hagerman horse was known as the American zebra due to its zebra-like features. It had a stocky body, like that of a zebra, but with a short, narrow donkey-like skull. It was built for the open grasslands and floodplains found across America during the late Pliocene. Fossil records show that this species lived in herds like today's zebras and other wild horses. It seemed to thrive in North America and was excellent at migrating, a trait that remains true in today's zebras. During the Pleistocene, the Hagerman horse migrated from North America, across the Bering Land Bridge, and into Asia and Europe. From there, it entered Africa around 2.3 million years ago. This migration saved the genus from extinction. Those that remained in North America became extinct 10,000 years ago, during the mass extinction event that plagued North America. But those that had migrated from the continent spread across the world, evolving and giving rise to what we now know as the zebra. Of course, the most distinctive feature of zebras is their stripes. They are as unique as human fingerprints. No two are the same, but zebra stripes have caused debate amongst scientists for decades. Some have suggested that they confuse predators by breaking up the outline of the animal and making it harder to focus on a specific target. Individuals are more likely to blend in with the herd when they stand together, making it more difficult to separate individuals when preying on them. Others suggest that the black and white patterns aid in temperature regulation, creating convection currents across the body. The most likely explanation, however, seems to be that the stripes act as a defense mechanism against biting insects, particularly flies, which can cause disease. There are three species of extant zebra: the gravy zebra, the plain zebra, and the mountain zebra. Despite appearing numerous in TV documentaries and on safari, some species are considered endangered. There are fewer than 3,000 gravy zebras, less than 40,000 mountain zebras, and as many as 600,000 plain zebras left in the wild. They live in eastern and southern Africa in a range of habitats from grasslands and savannas to woodlands and mountains. Plain zebras are the most widespread throughout Africa. They are known to migrate more than 300 miles between Namibia and Botswana, following the rains and heading to lusher pastures. They feed mostly on grasses and sedges, as well as bark, leaves, buds, fruits, and roots. They play an important role in the grassland ecosystems, grazing down the less nutritious grasses, making way for the more specialist grazers. Although they are a prey species, often depicted as being hunted by lions or taken by crocodiles at the water's edge, zebras are incredibly tough animals. Gravy zebras can survive a week without water, enabling them to live in more arid climates than the other species. They can deliver a powerful kick to smaller predators and an aggressive bite. So, could they survive in North America? If we look at the habitat available to them, then it is relatively easy to imagine zebras in North America. Zebras are grazing animals, and in Africa, they live on the vast savannas and grasslands. Except for the gravy zebras, the others rely heavily on water and are often found within a few miles of a water supply. America's open grasslands, known as prairies, cover almost 4 million acres. They are mostly found on the edge of the Great Plains. Some of these could provide suitable habitat for zebras. However, due to their fertile soils and flat topography, a large percentage of them are farmed for crops. Of course, the Great Plains themselves stretch across a vast area, covering 2,000 miles north to south and 500 miles east to west. These are largely covered in grassland that is grazed by American bison and pronghorn. Although America's prairies might be largely cultivated land now, the Great Plains could provide enough grazing ground to support large herds of zebra. Their indiscriminate grazing is less likely to have an impact on the wildlife already abundant on the plains, as they don't seem to have a preference for one type of forage over another. Their presence could be felt by another species that also graze the open grasslands, such as elk, pronghorn antelope, and deer. So, whilst other species may be affected by the presence of zebras in parts of America, zebras may themselves thrive. But it's not just about the food availability and habitat on offer. The North American climate differs somewhat from Africa. On the plains, the weather can be stifling hot and humid in the summer, and bitterly cold and harsh in the winter. Zebras are found in zoos all over the world where they can survive in harsh climates, but then they usually have access to heated shelter in the coldest months. Captive zebras are also provided with food and do not have to graze in the harshest of winters. The climate across the Great Plains changes considerably because they cover such a huge area. The more northern reaches of the plains are affected by the cold, dry climate of central Canada, which travels into North America, whilst the southern plains receive warmer, moister air carried over from the Gulf of Mexico. In the coldest months during January and February, temperatures in some areas can dip as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius across the southern plains, to as low as 10 degrees Fahrenheit or -12 degrees Celsius across the Canadian prairies. While in the warmest months, July and August, temperatures can reach an average of 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 27 degrees Celsius through the southern plains, and approximately 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 degrees Celsius across the Canadian prairies. Although there would be plenty of food for zebras to graze in the northern ranges of the Great Plains, they would be unlikely to survive the coldest months. Even in the warmer states such as Texas, where the Great Plains cover the Panhandle, the center, and the west, temperatures in January can dip as low as 34 degrees Fahrenheit or 1 degree Celsius. Other warm states that could offer grasslands for zebras include Arizona, but there may not be enough rainfall for zebras to thrive. And even here, winter temperatures can dip below freezing. Zebras do not have a thicker winter coat that domestic and wild horses have, so they would struggle to keep warm. Today, there are wild horses that roam some of the U.S. These were brought over from Europe by the Spanish in the early 1500s. The few that escaped fled to the prairies and became wild. In the 19th century, their numbers were estimated at 2 million, but they were almost hunted to extinction until the late 1900s, when they became protected. Today, there are estimated to be around 36,000, half of which are in Nevada. Although these horses thrive in North America, they are well adapted to the colder climate. Their fur is longer and thicker than that of the zebra, allowing them to cope with the cold. In conclusion, we don't think that zebras could survive in North America due to the climate. There are plenty of places that offer ample food and habitat for them, but the dips in winter temperatures across the prairies and plains could prove fatal to Africa's indigenous horse. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment with what you would like to see in the following videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.